Before we get started with today's video, I just wanted to show you my bird's nest spruce in the early morning light. The new growth on it just looks beautiful. Here's a look at the top of the tree. You can see the new growth just coming out. I don't think I'll get a lot of extension on the new growth because it was just repotted this spring. Sure looks nice in the sun though. Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to start the work on my mixed forest planting. This planting is a mixture of native larch trees or tamarack and black spruce. The trees in this planting are quite small and they require a lot of pruning to keep them in check. Otherwise they become big fuzzy blobs and you don't see the individual trees. They kind of all merge together. So today I'm going to do a profile prune to these trees. It's similar to what I do with my ficus. I prune the profile first and then I go in and do a more detailed branch pruning. You can see the difference in quality of trees or development of these trees. The one out front is quite nice and conical with a nice branch structure. The one at the back here is very sparse. The growth is very coarse on it. I'll show you that one. The one back here only has a few branches and the growth on them is really long because there's only a few branches. So as this ramifies, that energy from the roots will be distributed among more branches and the growth will get more tight and more compact as the tree matures. You can see the tree out front has that characteristic that, you know, the new growth is very tight and compact, there's lots of branching, and it makes a really nice looking miniature tree. I'm pruning all the trees in this forest to a very tight conical form, a very tall upright conical form with a very narrow triangular shape to it. So I'm going to do a profile prune as the first step to these trees. That will get rid of a lot of these kind of loose shaggy branches, tightening it up to a conical profile. I haven't used the blue scissors in a long time. It might be time to get them out. I have got the blue scissors out. I've sharpened them. They should cut really well. So here's the apex of this first tree. So what I want to do is cut from the apex down into a conical form. So just shearing the tree. You know, basically a profile prune. So here I go. Now I could, you don't have to use the blue scissors, they're kind of crude, but I could come in individually, you know, and prune the apex back here, like that. I could, you know, estimate where my conical shape is and come in and very carefully prune it. But I've got a lot of trees to do, and these are in a development stage, not a refinement stage. So I'm just going to come in using my blue scissors and prune away. So they're cutting really, really nicely, especially after I sharpen them. So now I'll come down the front here. And it seems kind of brutal, this, but it sure gets the tree to shape. You know, I'm just cutting through everything that is outside of that conical form. And sometimes being ruthless like this is good for your trees. It gets the shape how you want it. And it is possible, you know, some branches could die off from this operation. But generally, they should be okay. I'm just checking that shape now. Keeping it a very slim conical form. Now you have to also remember larches are, you know, a deciduous tree. They lose their leaves. I guess they call it a deciduous conifer. They lose their leaves, so they can be defoliated. Okay, so I've got that first tree trimmed to a conical form. I'll show you what it looks like from above. Here's the tree from above, so you can see how tight a conical form I pruned it to. Taking it back as far as I can. So next I've got to go in and refine those branches. So that was just step one, pruning it to the profile shape. Step two is refinement. So on step two, you can see there's a long branch, a vertical one here. It's in the conical form, but it doesn't look good sticking straight up there. So I'm going to prune it back short to there. Here's another one sticking straight up. I'll prune that back short, giving a bit of separation between the branches. There's another little tip I can take off, one here, another one here, another one in here. So the profile pruning is just sort of the first step, and this is step two, kind of refining the branches. Again, trying to get some separation between them here. This one's too long here. This one's still too long. So the idea of this constant pruning, you know, doing it every few weeks, is that the trees never gain huge amounts of vigor. So they don't, you know, explode in growth and become too thick and coarse. They don't grow, you know, with too much vigor because they'll get out of shape and out of scale. So you want to keep the growth slow and in control. You don't want, you know, giant shoots with all these branches thickening up fast. Okay, I think that's got that tree as refined as I can get it. Here is a look at that tree now. I'll put a background behind it if I can get it in here. Right through here like that. So you can see the conical form. It's not perfect yet, but it's on its way. It's looking like a slim conical tree from up north. I'm going to continue pruning the larch in the forest using the blue scissors first to profile prune, and then go in with the bonsai scissors and do the detailed work. There's a look at tree number 2 pruned up to that slim conical form. On this third tree, I didn't do a lot of branch pruning at the top. They weren't long enough, but I did a lot of needle pruning, cutting needles in half. And what that does is it gets rid of all this fluffy growth at top and allows light to get down to these lower branches. That's the whole purpose of the conical form, is that all these branches get light, and that's what happens in nature. So yeah, so I did a lot of pruning, and you can go in and you can actually, pull off clumps of needles that are hanging down, or areas where it's too thick, to kind of lighten the trees up, just to get light down to those branches that you want to keep vigorous, these lower branches. So you want to take vigor out of the top of the tree and transfer it down lower. So you see this one's pruned up quite nicely to a conical form. Now the conical form's a little wider at the bottom than I want it to be, but I will be growing these trees taller also, so I think in the end I will end up with a very slim conical form to the trees. I'll finish pruning up all the rest of the larch trees in the forest, and then we'll come back and have a look at them, and then I'll start pruning the spruce. This first spring flush of growth is the strongest, so every time it flushes out after this, the growth will be much more compact, weaker, and more in scale with the trees. So you kind of have to manage that first flush. Your trees will look like a big bush, and then you've got to prune it back, do some needle thinning, and get them under control, and then every flush after that will be a little easier to manage. I really enjoy keeping these larch shaped and small. It's kind of nice seeing them maintaining that conical form, not getting too out of control. It's always a balance between keeping them healthy and looking good. I think so far I'm achieving that goal, keeping them both healthy and looking fairly good. But it does take a lot of pruning. Almost every couple of weeks I'm back at it, pruning up the larch. And soon I'll be working on the spruce, because they're fast growers too. And I've got to maintain the proportions between the larch and the spruce. I don't want one species outgrowing the other. I've got all the larch pruned up now, so I'm going to clean up the landscape, all my clippings that have fallen down. Then I'm going to go for lunch, and then after lunch I'm going to tackle the spruce. I'll rotate the forest around so you can see how the spruce are doing. You can see all the spring growth coming out on the spruce, and it looks really, really nice. You can see how dense they are up top, the growth, and as you go down the trees, the growth gets weaker and weaker. So that's what I have to do today, is balance the vigor, taking shoots out of the top, keeping my bottom branches strong. Otherwise you end up with no branches on the tree trunk and only growth up top on these spruce. So you have to be very aware to maintain the vigor of the trees from top to bottom. The forest is cleaned up, looking good. It's time for lunch now. I am back after lunch, ready to tackle the spruce now. So the styling will be very similar to the larches, that tight conical form, and you can see how lush and how vigorous they are at the tips, and as you go down they get weaker and weaker. So I've got to prune and pinch back the apex, and as I go down the tree I'll do less and less pruning as the vigor decreases. So I won't be using the blue scissors for these trees. I'll just be pruning them manually because they're not as dense as the larch. So I'll start on this tree, and This branch comes out, divides from 1 into 3. I'm going to pick 2 of those to keep. And I don't want to pick out the middle one because then my division is too wide, my Y shape from the 2 branches. So I want to either keep these 2 or keep these 2. I don't want to prune out the middle one. I think in this case I'm going to prune off this one on this side. So here I go. So that branch is removed. And then I'll pinch these ones back. So I'll just grab the shoot and pinch off most of it. Just leaving a little bit. And I'll show you a close-up of that on the next branch. So that gets that branch pruned back, nice and compact, and the vigor is taken out of the top, and hopefully that vigor from the roots will go into growing these bottom branches a bit stronger, kind of balancing the vigor on the tree. I can show you on this tree the pinching operation, so you can see how long these shoots are getting. So you can either pinch it, so you can grab it with your hand, keeping the part you want to keep in the one hand, and pinching off the tip like that, or you can go in with your scissors, just kind of go between the needles if you can, and prune it away. With the scissors you might get a little more browning at the tips, but not too much more. So here's another one. This one actually I want to take right off because it's growing straight up beside my leader. So that comes right out. And you can see all these need either scissor pruning back or pinching because they're getting too long and it's getting too fluffy in the apex. So I'll come in and start pinching out these shoots. And you want to do this pinching when the shoots are soft. You can eat them too. They're quite delicious in spring. Yeah, so when they're soft, you can pinch them out, shortening them up. Getting that apex under control. Like that. They're quite tasty. They're quite sweet in spring, these spruce tips. So you can see in this one, even though I pinched it back, it's still very dense in the apex. And I may have to do a little thinning with the scissors. Taking out entire branches. I could take out this one. That one didn't really have a too big a bud on it. Put that one back. Pinch this one back. Here's one growing up vertically I can take out. I'll continue pruning up the spruce now. I won't be able to, do the final shaping. I'll just have to keep working away, maybe prune them once a week until all these shoots kind of fully extend and I can pinch them back. Right now, a lot of them are just too small. They're not long enough to pinch them yet. So there'll be more work coming to this probably in a week, and then maybe another week after that I can do even more work to the spruce trees. You can see on the tallest tree in the forest here, these shoots are definitely long enough to pinch back, so I will do that. Come in here, pinch that off. And maintaining my conical form to the trees. If you don't do this operation on your spruce, they quickly elongate and extend too far, and then it's hard to chase them back to get them compact once again. You're always kind of fighting to get them more compact. So it's best to keep them under control as they grow. Here's a long apex coming up here that needs pinching. Like that. So this apex is looking much better up here now. This one needs a bit of thinning. I can see there's still too many shoots up here. I can take this butt off the top there. This pinching of the new shoots also stimulates even more back budding on the old branches. So it's an important thing to do to your spruce in spring. Here's an example here where I've got an upright branch and I have a horizontal shoot here, so I can prune off the upright branch like that and keep my horizontal shoot, making it more of a conical shape, this tree. This is one of my, worst trees as far as styling. It's not a very conical shape, but it will get there. It's just a matter of keep at the pruning. When you see an opportunity to improve the tree, do it. And slowly, over time, it'll become a better and better shaped tree. You can see now that tree in the end is looking better. It doesn't look out of place. It's still not a very, tight conical form, but you can see the start of it here. If I get more back budding, it'll improve that shape. And as I said, just keep looking for opportunities over the years, and slowly you'll replace these upright branches with ones that are drooping, and it'll eventually get to the style that you envision. I've got all the spruce pruned up, at least for today. They're looking good. I made some improvements on most of the trees, removing some branches, replacing them with better ones, pinching them back, sorting out the branch structure a little bit. Definitely an improvement. I would say about maybe a 10% improvement. And you have to be patient with spruce. You can wire them. I wouldn't recommend wiring them for two reasons. One, when they're this small, you wire them up and the wire's going to get lost in the tree. You'll forget about the wire, and then you'll end up with this branch that's just horribly scarred with wire marks. Or you'll wire it all in place and then you'll remove the wire and then all the branches start coming up again, which is what happens on spruce. You wire them down and then they grow back up again. So the clip and grow method is more permanent. When I clip a branch to a certain direction, it tends to stay there. Over many years it might slightly come up, but it's a little more permanent than drastic wiring, hoping it stays in place. I'll be losing the sunshine on my bog forest soon. It's going behind the white pine. So let's fly in now and have a look at the forest. I really enjoy working on my mixed northern style bog forest, creating these tall upright trees, trying to miniaturize them as much as I can. And I think it's coming along quite well for how young this forest is. You can watch every step in the creation of this forest. It's all on YouTube. I'll put the link to the playlist in the description below the video, and you can follow along from the very start to how it looks today. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.